Welcome back to the Passing Point here on ESPN Radio KC and RBN, the RacinBoys Broadcasting Network. I'm Scott Traylor again with Kirk, Elliott. We're in the McCarthy Auto Group studio. And joining us now is the winner of the 59th Annual Knoxville Nationals. And we're happy to have him on the show. David Gravel joins us now. David, how you doing? Congratulations, bud. What a victory.
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we always want to thank you for taking the time you've been on here with us. You know, we just couldn't be more excited to see you in victory lane. Obviously, we had a great relationship with Jason when he was running with the ASCS National Tour and us doing those broadcasts. But, you know, you've created this I don't know what the best way, but you've created an atmosphere of excitement around that team that we haven't seen since Jason's been gone, and you got to feel good about how the team feels about this victory.
Yeah, for sure. You know, to get a Knoxville Nationals win and back up Jason's win a couple of years ago feels really good. Philip and Bobby worked hard to keep this deal going, and happy they did, and it's all paying off.
Yeah. You know, I can't imagine the work that goes on behind the scenes to keep this team as successful as it's been this year. Let's first off talk about your win at the Knoxville Nationals. Take us through that race and your memory going through it. Starting up front, did you feel a little pressure going into that race because you were starting up towards the front? There's
always pressure in the Knoxville Nationals, but I was hoping to just be in second or first in the beginning and just kind of see how the race played out and see what lines were the fastest, and fell back to third there in the start and just kind of watch those guys race it out and pick my lines I wanted to run and stick with them from there, and was able to really run the same line the whole race. So it kind of just played out in my favor. Those guys started fading a little bit and was able to get by them and kind of control the race after about 15, 20 laps in.
When you're in the first half of that race, do you consciously think, you know, I got to save my – because, you know, I didn't even think about this till I heard it maybe in the post-race press conference that you really kind of save your motor for the second half of that race as well. You know, we always think about the car and what you've got to do and making the adjustments at the halfway break, but you guys have to also think about the motor throughout those 50 laps as well, don't you?
I'm not really worried about the motor. You know, if everything is done correctly with the engine, it should hold up no problem. You know, Peavey is 55 laps, and we race a lot of 40-lap races on big tracks. So, you know, that's never in my mind. I know I broke an engine a couple of years ago.
I know it.
While leading the race, but that was on lap 23, so that really didn't have much to do with the longevity of a race there. But, you know, and then you put new tires on for the second half of the race. So, you don't really have to conserve much with how the Knoxville Nationals is set up. I think just you physically, you got to be there and on your game the last 25 and can't be tired or fatigued.
You know, I remember when you lost that motor early in that race and it looked like you were easily the fastest car and you were going to win the Knoxville Nationals. I guess that brings even more satisfaction when you won it this year.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we had an extremely good car at Knoxville in the CJB car, but when you switch teams, you don't know if you're going to be able to be as good at Knoxville as before or anything like that. So it's just really cool to win at Knoxville in another car and just rely information that I've learned, and then Phil using information he's learned. Obviously, both of us have been very successful there, so just a perfect combination.
Knoxville Nationals champion David Gravel joining us. Did you make any added adjustments during that halftime break?
No, we just made a stagger change, and that was about it. Nothing really else. Just, you know, we had a good car and just tightened up a little bit and kept going with it.
Yeah. How technical, you know, we always talk about working the bottom, and you've got to be able to use the bottom when you need to at Knoxville. Just tell us how technical Knoxville is as a driver for yourself.
Yeah, Knoxville is tough because that dark dirt, you know, there's a thin strip of wet moisture on the bottom, and the berm's the same color. So it's really hard to determine if you're too low and up in the berm or too high and your right rear's in that slick. It's a fine line, and it takes a lot of concentration, finesse, and everything to hit that thing consistently. It's nearly impossible to hit it lap after lap just because the room for error is very, very small. So, and the top, the top's fairly easy till it gets really slick and near the wall where you start dragging your left rear and getting loose and trying to keep it straight is the struggle at Knoxville. You got to have a car that's tight enough to be able to carry a lot of speed into the corner.
You were so strong on your qualifying night. How different was the track on Saturday night from Thursday?
Actually, Saturday night, I wouldn't say I had more grip than the other nights, but had a really good bottom of 1 and 2 on Saturday, and then the top of 3 and 4 was really, really good on Saturday, where I thought the track was really far around on my prelim night, and the bottom was kind of better. So I didn't really run the top all weekend, and Saturday night A-Main, I definitely ran about every lap around the top of 3 and 4. So a couple small differences, but they always do a great job with the track. And, I mean, there's passing, every night. I know some guys didn't make it to the heat, but if you're off just the slightest bit, you're not going to transfer to the heat from 8th.
Yeah. Exalta on the car. Talk about Jeff Gordon being down in the pits. That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very cool for him to be there all week, to get him in victory lane twice. You couldn't have asked for a better result for Exalta and Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon brought Exalta in. If it wasn't for him, Exalta wouldn't have been on the race car. And it just made Jeff look good, made me look good, and Exalta look good. So it was just a win-win in every aspect of it.
And the best appearing crew of the Knoxville Nationals.
And car.
And car, yeah. How about that? That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Knoxville couldn't have been any better. Winning the Capitani, there's nothing else we could have really did other than have a perfect score, you know what I mean, and start on the pole. But we started second, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Did Jax give you any sage advice before you went out on the racetrack?
No advice. He's not real talkative.
Right,
but
yeah.
He was in the pits and in the pictures for best dressed crew and everything before, and he made it up on top of that race car before I did, so he knew he was excited.
I was watching him. He had his foot up on that bumper, man. He was ready to mount that wing, get up there right away as soon as you pulled into victory lane. And I know that we all talk about Jackson, and obviously his father's not with him to share that victory lane, but you've got to take a lot of pleasure in making that little boy happy, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Bobby told me going into this deal that it was a lot about making Jax happy, caring about Jax. Like, she's doing this mostly for Jax. This is all Jax knows. He's been running up and down the road since he's been a little kid. So it's one of those things. That was one of our main goals for us, and to make it work. And hopefully I've been doing a good job at that.
Yep. All right, before we let you go, I got to ask you, the plans for the rest of the year, Exalta, are they going to be on the car anymore, or what's the future with that sponsor? Do you know yet?
The future, I have no idea. It was just a one-race deal for the Knoxville Nationals. So as of right now, that's the only time it would be on the car. And